All right, now that we got all that done, it's time for the main event. Time to mount the headers. And I'm gonna put some paste on. Okay, I just got it started. Let me put the spring on. Oh yeah, those springs are no fucking joke. There we go, that's one. Okay, that spring's gonna be a fucking royal pain in the ass.
2 very boring minutes later.
So once you get the headers in, you want to put the outside springs on just to hold everything in place. And then I'm gonna go through and torque all the inside bolts. Then I'll take the springs off and torque the outside bolts. And then we'll put all the springs on. Next, we gotta torque all these bolts to 7 foot-pounds. And I'm gonna use one of these swivel adapter pieces. All right, that's one. Just repeat the process for all the other ones.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
All right, guys, so I've torqued the first 2 bolts right there. The other ones, I just cannot get to with my torque wrench, so I think I'm just gonna have to wing it, unfortunately. But I kind of have a feel for what 7 foot-pounds feels like from those first 2, so I think I'll be all right.
5 minutes later.
All right, I just finished up tightening all the bolts, and all I used was the 10-star bit, and now we're gonna put these springs on. I'm gonna try to work as far into the engine as I can and then make my way out.
20 minutes later.
Just got all the inner springs in. Next, I'm gonna take off this outer one and torque down the outside bolt and then put the outside spring back on. And then we're all done putting the headers on. Same thing on the other side. Once you get all the springs on, you're just gonna knock the headers with a rubber mallet, nice and gentle, and the vibration will help pull the headers into the cylinder heads. All the bolts are tightened, all the springs are on nice. Next, we're gonna put the rear O2 sensor on and then route the front O2 sensor cables and plug them back in. And so when mounting the rear O2 sensors, you're gonna put a little bit of ceramic anti-seize paste along the threads. Just gonna do a little bit. All right, that should do. Now when putting it on, we're gonna wanna pre-turn the wires. I mean, mine are already fucking pretty twisted. So usually you would wanna pre-turn the wires this way, but mine are already kind of twisted that way already, so I'm gonna unscrew it and it should end up pretty perfect. That looks good to me. So now we're just gonna tighten this up. I believe this is a 17 millimeter. And I would love to torque this up, but I only have one size of that one part I was talking about. So we're just gonna get it down good and snug. I'll do it right there. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So we gotta mount the rear O2 sensor right here. And it's up here. And I have a zip tied to the kickstand switch wire. So I think I'm gonna have to cut that off in order to get it to reach, because right now it's too short. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that.
A few moments later.
So it's still too short, so I kind of had to grab the wire up here and just pull it down a little bit. There's a little bit of slack on it, and now it can reach. So now that we got enough slack, I'm gonna put some anti-seize ceramic paste around the threads like we did on the other side, and then screw it on in. All right, so before we install the front O2 sensors, I'm gonna reinstall the radiator and oil cooler bracket. Now it should go on easier than it came off because the new headers don't have a crossbar right in the fucking way like the stock headers did. So we're just gonna pop that up through there, pops in there. Next we're gonna reattach the oil cooler to the radiator. Same thing on the other side.
10 seconds later.
All right, all tightened up. Next, we're gonna reinstall this pain in the ass bolt right there. This honestly might be the worst part of the job. Just this one fucking bolt. Everything else went pretty smoothly. Okay, now I'm gonna tighten it down just a little bit. I do not want to have trouble taking it off again. Next, we're gonna reconnect our front O2 sensor. So we're gonna route it up through here, along here, and then back through here, and plug it in. For the front O2 sensor, you're gonna push it in until you hear it click, and then you're gonna push it in again until you hear it click. Right there. And then you're gonna push this in this way. And that's good to go. And then we're gonna zip tie the access cable around the connector. So just make sure it's nice and snug, and then trim off the excess. So on the left side, we're gonna route it around here. I'm gonna put one zip tie around here, put another zip tie on here, and we're gonna put it back in the stock mounting point back here. Turn this in. All right, so next we're gonna wipe it down with WD-40 just to take off the oils, any fingerprints that are left on. I wore gloves, so there shouldn't be any, but just in case. And then we'll install the slip-on, and then we'll start it up. Gotta take the cardboard off of the oil cooler here.
Perfect.